നമസ്കാരം. കേറിവാട മക്കളെ എന്നുള്ള ഒറ്റ ഡയലോഗ് കൊണ്ട് ഫുട്ബോൾ അറിയുന്നതും അറിയാത്തവരുമായ ഫുട്ബോൾ ആരാധകരും അല്ലാത്തവരുമായ മലയാളികളെ ഒന്നടങ്കം കയ്യിലെടുത്ത സാക്ഷാൽ ഇവാൻ വൊക്കോമോനോവിച്ച് ആണ് നമ്മുടെ അതിഥി. Welcome to News 18 Kerala, Coach.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
So you obviously made out what I said in our own language, Malayalam, about you, the opening dialogue.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah. So I would love to start with that because this Kerivada Makale was addressed at the football fans.
Yeah.
It wasn't a PR exercise. It wasn't a scripted thing. This very clearly felt like something which came from inside, from your heart. And I've read that there is a background to this because you once have been a very passionate fan. This is one story which a lot of Malayalis do not know. Can you tell us about that adventure that you had at the age of 14, if what I read was correct?
Yeah, exactly. Well, when you start shooting the ball around your house, of course you dream about being part of big events. My dream was to be a football player, to play in front of huge crowd in my country, in front of all those fans. My favorite club named Red Star.
So Red Star.
Yeah, actually Red Star managed to have couple of really nice seasons between 1987, 88 till 1990s and inside the 1990s, and actually won Champions League competition in 1991.
Right.
Which is today a big deal, of course, and back then it was kind of the start of that great competition. So back then I was dreaming about playing for that club. I was playing for my local club in town where I been born. So actually the capital city of Belgrade is like 200 kilometers from my hometown, and I was thinking about going and watch the game of semi-finals of Champions League in Belgrade, where actually our team Red Star was supposed to play against the big Bayern Munich German club. And especially like it was the second leg game, because the first game in Munich in Germany Red Star won 2-1. So everybody was excited, everybody wanted to be there. I had no idea how to get there. I was like 13, 14 years old boy. And the only thing I knew that my aunt, actually the sister of my father, she used to live in Belgrade. I knew how to reach there. So how to get the train, how to hit those 200 kilometers. Arrived to a huge central train station in Belgrade, which is capital like city today, like I think more than around 3 million people maybe, you know. And then from that central station to go to her house, and that's it. That's what I knew when I was a young boy, because knowing being there in the summer for a vacation or something like that. So then I decided and told my mother one day that I would like to do that. And she was actually against that, saying, how are you going to do that? We didn't have money. So I was collecting for days from my family, from my mother. Every day when you go to school, they give you some money, you know, small amounts to buy something to eat. So I was collecting that, not eating, even like collecting, because I wanted to buy that train ticket and go to capital city to watch that game, because for me it was something priceless. So then that day early in the morning, waking up, taking my books, faking like I'm going to school. Even I remember telling my mother I'm going to go. She was like, no, you must not go, you cannot go. Like even threatening me, like don't even think about it. So actually that day I was faking, taking my book, saying, okay, I go to school, running from my house to central station, 6:20 in the morning, getting the train, traveling to Belgrade capital for about 3.5 hours by train.
Okay.
Arriving there, arriving around 10 o'clock in the morning. The game was in the evening, 8:45. So then going to my aunt, she was not there, she was working. So I had to sit in front of the building till 3 o'clock in the afternoon waiting for her. That was back then, no cell phones. You know, there was like, you had a home phone or something. Then when she saw me, she was surprised, like what happens? So then we went in, she called my mother. She was furious, like threatening me, when you come back home, I'm going to destroy you, all these things. So I said, I don't care, like I'm going for I didn't even have the ticket.
Okay.
So then I went earlier before the game to stadium. I met one friend from my school. He was with his father and his uncle. So we went around together, we bought a ticket, find a ticket, witness it, like one of the biggest games, Red Star leading 1-0, then in 5 minutes going down 2-1, losing against Germans, so many pressure, and then in a 92nd minute, one situation, one like goal for eruption of the stadium, and draw 2-2, leading actually my favorite club to the finals, which actually later they won.
It goes by the first leg.
Yeah, and actually they qualified for the finals, and I even remember arriving later on with my friend and his father and uncle by car back home. Of course, my mother. I got beaten. I got beaten hardly, But actually, I was kind of. I don't care. We qualified for the finals, And she actually, I think that was the moment where she actually understood. Okay, this boy, she's committed. She's dedicated to it. And I was training hard. I was practicing. My dream was to become a football player. One day playing for that club, which actually came through later enough. And these kind of things give you passion, give you something that you want to believe even more and go for it. And realizing you have to work hard for that. There is nothing being granted for, so nobody will come to your door and offer you things. You have to fight for that. You have to work for that really hard. So maybe that was the turning point, key point into my football life.
Then you became a player.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at it, like you were a striker, you were a midfielder, then you were a central defender.
Yeah.
I think that was a point in time, at least in this part of the country, like you are left winger, you are a left winger for life. You are on the right wing, you're there. You're centre back, you're centre back. So you had that flexibility in the system, which was once Yugoslavia and now Serbia.
Yeah.
Or were you personally flexible and adapting to various roles? Like,
I think so, because back then, when we speak about football players' education, the football coach was like he's the boss, so he decides. And then when you face, as a young player, you face a coach who has a name, who experienced certain level, and then when he says something, then you have to listen. So then, in the youth, I was playing as a striker. Then, by some of these famous coaches, moved back to a midfield. Later on, when I started as a professional on a top level, even by some coaches, even of a higher level, pushing me back, playing as a central defender. These kind of things gave me later on different perspective and different football sides, where actually I was understanding the game more and more. How a central defender think about the game and sees the game itself, how midfielder has to behave, how strikers behave. For example, take a good example of today's modern football on the top level. How many top football coaches you will find who used to play as strikers? Very few, small percentage, because their football perspective during the playing time was opposite, because most of the game they're staying on the pitch back to the opponent goal, which means our right side for him is a left side, our left side for him is a right side. So everything's opposite. And then they're playing in kind of opposite perspective, where actually later when they become coaches, there are different circumstances. Today, speaking about top coaches on top level in English clubs, maybe some national teams, most of those coaches, they used to play as a central midfielders, as a central defenders. Some of them were goalkeepers, because the goalkeeper position is one of the best. You see everything in front of you.
Panoramic view.
Yeah. As a central midfielder, you are in the center of something and you have to circle around, and it's different. As a defender, again, everything is in front of you. So many other different perspective, all the football players have at the end of career. Some of them strikers, so I will not put the stample on it. They made great career as a football coaches, but only few of them. Most of the coaches today, you will find these guys who were hard workers, team players mostly, working for a team. And these guys today, that's why maybe they're giving more and more to some players today, like in development program. Again, strikers, they were good stars, big stars, ego. And at the end of the season, when they realize it's hard work, coaching job is a hard work, they mostly say, why should I do that? Because I used to get my glory, I used to get my fame. So, but anyway, with all due respect to everybody, so it's quite a different perspective. So that kind of thing gave me maybe different points of view in my later on football career where actually I was solving many problems during the game as a player with ease.
This flexibility is now on display. I mean, you're not rigid in terms of tactics, techniques, putting players in certain positions. You have one style of support when Sahal Samad is playing. You have another kind of player and KP Rahul comes in. So you have tuned and trained the rest of the team to adapt to their style. If one is a touch and burn player, the other one is fast, direct and coming in.
But you know, every player is different because all of us in this world, we are different in a way of mentality, character, approaching things, understanding football. So in a football world, when we speak about the players, and when you enter the dressing room, let's say 25 different mentalities, 25 different characters, it might happen that you have different nationalities, all of them coming from different parts of the world, different religions. You must understand all those things, you must accept all those things. And then many players, if you want to get, so the biggest, the most important point of a coaching job, like taking the maximum out of it, you know, making results. So a long time ago, the football coaches, you have approach of a football coach, everybody must adapt to him. This is his way. So then all of us, when we try to adapt to his way, some of us will get maximum out of it, some of us will not, because his approach doesn't fit you. It fits him, but not you and me, maybe. Today, as a football coach, you must be also kind of psychologist, you know, understanding all these differences in order to get maximum out of them, all of them. So then, with some players, you must have hard approach. With some players, you must have friendly approach. Some players, you must caress and talk nicely. With some players, you must be rude, you must be hard, in order to get maximum out of it. Not only here, but all around the world, because this is the way how football works. You know, they're coming from different backgrounds, they're coming from different family education systems and everything. So, and you have to recognize that as soon as possible in order to get maximum, because they have to perform. That's it.
Even what you got was a team which was rich in talent, definitely, no, but which was only showing streaks of brilliance. Like, you know, you suddenly surprise all your fans, you perform. Suddenly, you know, you go down. So you came in, even at that point, if I'm right, nobody gave much of a chance in terms of advancing to the playoffs or even the final.
We like that. We like that when they don't give us a chance. It was the case last season as well.
Yeah.
After so many disappointing years, nobody was expecting us to be there, first of all in playoffs, beating all these big teams last year in the bubble. Then reaching playoffs, nobody was giving us a chance to reach the finals. We reached the finals because in football anything is possible, especially in this beautiful league as ISL. Anybody can beat anybody, you know. So you have to fight for it. And then when you find a way and when you input all the empathy, emotions, hard work, dedication in Kerala Blasters, which is in my eyes now after close to the end of the second season, Kerala Blasters is something that nobody has in India. With all due respect to all the clubs, I always show my respect to all those clubs and all those people working in it. But the emotion, the fans, and everything what happens around Kerala Blasters, it exists only in Kerala. So with all due respect, and that emotion which gives you something extra, which actually push you forward, that as a player you want to give something extra onto that pitch, that creates that kind of wow effect that as Kerala Blasters you can surprise and beat anybody you want. So this is something extra that we managed last year. Okay, in bubble without the fans. Now it's quite different with fans, even better I'd say. So we'll try to do that.
What exactly, I mean, is this or was this part of your entire plan to transform this team? Because it was a clear transformation. It's not as if you brought in so many players suddenly, or you did not import, you know, extra players or nothing. You transformed the team.
That's the most important thing, because changing, and the most difficult thing, changing the mentality and character of your team, of your approach, of all these things going around the club together with fans, that actually you want to create a fortress. of your stadium. You want to create that wow effect that, with all due respect again, we want our opponents, when they look at the fixture, saying, okay, next weekend we are going to Kerala.
Holiday.
It will be tough. It will be really
Once
tough.
it was a holiday. Let's have an easy
Once it was
time.
a holiday, players speaking and saying, okay, we go to Kerala to score a couple of goals, to get points.
Now,
We wanted to create something different now. And to create that, you need both sides to act simultaneously, together with fans. You want to create that it functions. How? First of all, from our side, we have to give everything. Coaching staff, everybody in the club, players on the pitch. We want to give something extra on the pitch, where actually the opponents, they must feel that it's our home ground. When fans, they see that, they will support you. They will push you forward. Then you will find more power in that to give something extra to win the games. This is how it goes all around the world. And I think that is the most difficult thing to change, the mentality, the character of your team and your club, saying, we want to be that club, we want to be that team. So actually when we play at home, that everybody else going out for the warming up, they have to know, wow, today it will be tough. It will be tough today. And then when they feel the force, the way we want to play, to score goals, everything. So actually these kind of things, from the very first moment when we started our cooperation, talking to our management, I was saying that I would like to create that. We would like to change that, because Kerala Blasters can become one of the teams in this league who is always in top, who always has something special. And I think that Kerala Blasters has that something special.
and Kerivada Makale was part of that strategy, wherein the push, the passion which the fans have,
I think that
you
it
added
came from
fuel
the
to
heart.
that fire.
I think that it came from the heart. At that moment, we were, I think we were qualified for the finals.
Yeah.
When actually it just came, and I said, kind of a moment where I actually created that.
And
it
the
was
stadiums were opening up.
Yeah, that was the first game after so long that they were allowing fans to come into the stadium, and it was like a call. Come on, let's do it together. So, and I was glad that they arrived in Goa to support us.
And I haven't seen a lot many coaches addressing the fans. Forget even sparing a moment to. So, where did you pick this up, and what was the inspiration? You actually address the fans,
Well, maybe knowing the fact that the football team is not only one unit that can create something special. You need fans, you need all the community supporting you, you need to give something back to your community. That's why I always say my players before games, we go out and play this game, and later on when we get back here in the dressing room and look into each other's eyes, I want to see that we have no regrets. Because in professional football, whether you win, you lose, you draw, it happens. This is professional sport. Anything can happen. But at the end of the game, if you have that feeling that you did everything today, you gave everything, and you have no regret looking at yourself in the mirror at the evening, brushing your teeth or whatever, and saying, today I gave everything. I did everything for myself, for my teammates. So we lost. Yeah, okay, we shake hands with our opponent saying, okay, today you were better, next time I'll see you again, okay? But with that feeling, when you do that, you will never disappoint. The fans, they're not crazy. They recognize that. They recognize good vibrations, good feeling. And when you do everything, you give everything, despite the result, you will always have support. And then this kind of approach I felt long time ago when I was playing for my favorite club in my home country. Later on, during my player career, I recognized and I knew, also getting in touch with some different coaches, where actually they taught you like these kind of things. If you want to reach something in your football life, that's the only way. Hard work, dedication, do everything you can on the pitch for yourself, for your teammate. If your teammate, he loses a ball, go fight for that ball. Why? Because later when you lose the ball, he will do the same. This is kind of bond of brothers, the team that you want to create. And this kind of thing that actually we want to transfer, that again, Kerala Blasters becomes this kind of team where everybody can see that everybody fight for each other.
I've read somewhere that you're an A to Z coach, like you don't leave, physical fitness to the fitness chap diet to the dietitian, whatever. Like you get involved in their diet and their practice and their technique
Yeah.
in their, not just the football training, their physical training. Is that how you were also trained? Or
Yeah, as a manager now, of course, you have a technical staff, medical staff. Everybody is responsible for something. Of course, as a manager, you control and you supervise all those things when we decide about certain approaches or moves. We're all together, we decide, and I like to listen the specialist. In this case, conditional coach, you want to listen his opinion, you want to listen your assistant opinion, you want to listen your doctor's opinion, and all those things at the end we make decisions all together. Of course, as a manager you have to take decisions. Even sometimes I say, as a football manager now, as a coach, head coach, you have to take decisions. Sometimes these decisions will not benefit me, will not benefit player himself, but I always look that these decisions, they benefit the team at the end result. And sometimes you have to put all those emotions aside, which is sometimes not easy, but this is part of the job. So then I like to give all of these people space and time to express themselves, not only players, making mistakes, doesn't matter, next time will be better, just go for it, okay? Technical stuff, medical stuff, everybody takes responsibility. I'm not kind of leader who will say, okay, this is the situation, this is what we're going to do, let's do it. No, I like to hear different opinions and then all together taking this decision. Of course, at the end, we'll sit down and make those decisions. So this is how it goes. So that's why maybe it came from my background again, being part of different clubs, different environments, different countries, getting in touch with different approaches. So maybe today that gives something different.
Does Blasters have a problem with its bench strength? Because one or two, injuries to some crucial players suddenly upsets the balance, or are you happy about it?
There is one thing with the ISL that bothers, I think, everybody because it's on a short term. So in some other countries, you have between 34 and 38, 40 games per season. In ISL with 20 games, what happens? When you start a new season, there are new faces. You must create new dynamic. You must create new team spirit. You must create new automatism that everybody will fit in, actually. What happens then after a short period of, let's say, 10 or 12 games, something, you lose somebody, you can feel it. In a longer term competitions, then there is another players, they fit in, they get the time and everything. In ISL it's quite different. But whenever it happens with us, we don't cry about it. We don't, there are other guys, they are ready. That's why as a coaching staff, we always want to have all of them ready. So wherever something happens, that they can jump in and do the job. So of course, it's different when you change a player because not the one player is same. Everybody says, hey, you lost one player, can you replace him? No, absolutely impossible because you cannot replace because not one player is the same. You can just fit in somebody else, he can try to do the job and that's it. But even now when we faced some of these changes, we were not crying about it. Okay, there are other players, jump in, do the job, and let's go for it. This is how we accept that. We never speak about it negatively. No, it's a part of football business. Let's go.
Don't complain, don't whimper.
No need, because complaining is kind of finding excuses, Everybody says excuses are there to use them. No, I'm not that type of coach. We want to continue with the power and players we have. There are also the unavoidable thing in football, younger players knocking on a door saying, I want to pick up your spot, I want to fight for my spot on the pitch, so you have to give them chance. They deserve it. So as a coach, you want to see those boys having that ambition to arrive there. So as a coach, you're pleased to see that. So you have to go with the flow.
So is that also the inspiration for your, what do you call the Blaster school, from juniors, kids,
Yes.
under 19, under 17, under 15, you call any age group?
I think that all the boys being part of those young groups, they have to realize that there is chance that they can become senior football players in Kerala Blasters, which we are proving and showing now in the last period, that more and more boys from this educational process, they are knocking on a door and coming to the first squad. And this is also part of our objective, developing this Malayali part of football, Kerala football, that these boys later being recognized on a level of national teams, not only young national teams, but senior national team, football club, Kerala Blaster, or any other club in ISL. So this is part of football, and we want to participate and develop that thing, which can actually afford our club to become even stronger.
This was one question which I had kept for last, but then since you've already taken on to the Malayali footballers and an extension of which is the Indian footballers, do you think there is a realistic chance? Because this is one joke that we football fans share, like, will we be able to see an Indian team play a World Cup match in our lifetime? So, one, is there a realistic chance,
Yes,
realistically speaking?
I think so, yes. Because, let's say, 20-something years ago, one process around the world started, where actually many countries realized that everything goes and starts from a youth development. If you want to create one strong senior national team, you have to create it from your youth roots. And it starts from a football education from the age of 15, 16, where actually throughout that process, these players, they become better. They get as a proper education. The same example, if you want to go and study in university, first you have to go to primary school. You have to learn how to write and read, okay? Because later you cannot go to study if you don't know to read and write. No chance. So that's why in today's world of football, where many countries, more than 100 countries, today we have more than 200 something countries participating in World Cup qualification. So more than 100 countries are already into that process of developing youth players who later become the top players on a senior level. How? Going through that process, they go to better clubs, they have better education, they become better, playing in better competition, playing on a more serious level, you know, even in ISL. And then what happens? Them becoming better in a youth system, they will be participating in new national teams, participating in big tournaments. Later, when this generation grows up, it becomes your senior generation, fitting in with good players, and then you create one good unit for next 10 years. And then you can hope that you can achieve through the Asian Cup something more serious, and it is possible. It is possible with the right process, right education, that you arrived to that level. Many countries, they prove that. And it started from some South American countries, European countries. I've been part of this Belgium education process, which started 2006. Today, you have so many top Belgian players in the top level. National team was for years first on a FIFA ranking, and Belgium is a small country, you know, small country of 11 million people. They created the process, they created the project, they said, let's go for it. So India has talent. It must work a little bit more on infrastructure to develop these training centers and all these things. One day, I think it's possible.
11 million in a small country. This is one benchmark or measuring glass that we use. Such a huge country, such a huge population. Look at that country, look at this country with, like, you know, 1/100th of our population, 1,000th of our infrastructure, but they're winning gold in Olympics and, going through in World Cups, this, that. So what is lacking? I mean, it's high time you looked at it frankly. What is lacking? Is it infrastructure? Is it the physique? Is it the diet? Is it the body? Or is it emotional?
Starting from infrastructure, starting for correct education, sports education on a football level. And it starts also from a federation part, where actually, I'll give you again example from Belgium, where actually they started that process in 2006, and in 2009-10, they realized they don't have coaches who can push further on for that project. And they said, okay, what we have to do? Let's educate new coaches. So then you have new educational coaching system coming on. I was part of that first generation. And so with all these together, then together with the fans, then you unite all the clubs saying, okay, we as a federation, we will work like that because we want our players to be developed on that way in order to get them on a higher level. So then all the clubs have to organize their youth system. I think that half of the clubs in ISL, they don't have youth systems, you know. So every year, what they're doing? They go into transfer market, they go and buy players, okay? And so what? So you play one season, you arrive at the end of the season, Okay, it's done, go back to zero, restart. So again, you go back to zero. So you don't have this continuity, this consistency of that process, where actually if you oblige and say all the clubs, you must have all of you youth system, senior team, B team, under 21, under 19, under 17, under 15, and these guys, they will go step by step, like in a school, all the clubs. Then you will plunge so many talents to your national teams. Your national teams will become better. Your national young teams will be recognizable more on an international level. These players, young, they become better, coming to senior level, and you have better national team. And you can go with your talent. India has a great talent, has a great dedication of survival spirit, you know, and that's important in a football level, fighting spirit, you know, for that game, for that victory. And then you start winning here around in Asia. And then you become recognizable. One day, you will be there. Then later on deciding, or you in your coaching education, getting your domestic coach as a national team, international coach, doesn't matter. It goes like together, because many teams, even the top national teams, they have international coaches. Doesn't matter. It's about the coexistence of that system which will provide all this. This is a project. And like I say, more than 20 years, more than 100 countries, they're doing that. Whoever is not doing that, they're left behind, because that gives result. So you have to change those things together with infrastructure, approach, cooperation, clubs, federation, creating this new generation, because the market of Indian football is small. You have 11 teams in ISL, 12 teams in the I-League. Okay, 23 teams, half of the players not available because they are under contracts. Half of the players you cannot get because they are not affordable from budget-wise. Then the market is so small that you can choose between players you have or similar players. So why do you change? The only thing, you have to create new players, because these players, they will turn around for a couple of more years. If you then don't have new project, who's going to play in the next 3-4 years if you don't have that process? So we as a club, we started last year. We want to do that because it's our idea. And we think that it will bring new results, new young players going to national teams, and new young Malayali guys going onto the level of ISL. We want to see that.
Given that, yes, we build infrastructure, we bring in coaches, we have a coaching system, everything in place, is there a problem with the physique, with the diet? Because you look at those, European players, the African players, you look at the way their muscles stand out, the way they physically fit, the speed, the skill. Do you think we have it in us to match that?
Yes, I think yes. Look, if we go back in, couple of years ago or something, Barcelona in the golden period, you know, all the players, they were quite small, you know, quick with the ball, quick in the passing, you know. There were some tough players, but not all of them. And everybody was saying, how the hell these guys, they are so small, they can win the Champions League a couple of times. That's a process, that's a system. Of course, genetics is important, but what I've seen so far in India, there is talent, there is physics. Indian players are really quick, you know. Then being capable of playing into these weather conditions puts you into advantage. So many players, international, coming in India, they suffer. They cannot play here because weather conditions, humidity, and it's not easy. So many of those things you can use as an extra weapon. Then when you start those process with the youth, of course, there's education about feeding, there's education about all other things that you push through those systems, and when they arrive on a senior level, they're ready. Physically, they're ready. Mentally, well, you push them to be ready to playing in front of the crowd. This is part of your growing up process as a football player. So there is everything you need with, I think, even better infrastructure that you have to provide with training centers, every club. I would also advise and oblige as a head of ISL that every club must build up a new training center, okay? Training facilities, because there is a lack of training facilities. Many times we go around India playing these games far away. You have to go 2 days in advance. You go there, like you face in the city of 12 million people, you don't have a football ground to practice. This is not acceptable. So you cannot advance and you cannot improve if you don't have this kind of infrastructure. You know, with all due respect to any other sport, that India is really good in it. But if you want to advance in football, you have to do that. You have to, as a club, because it's also an asset. Tomorrow it brings you value. Many coaches, many players, international, when you say, you know, we as a club, we have a really nice training center. This is the first question one player asks in Europe, for example, when he got offer from one club. Do they have a training center? Let me see it. If they don't have these qualities, they don't consider going there. These things are really important. So if you want to attract later players of highest level, coaches of the highest level, more quality, the first thing, you have to provide facilities, you have to provide infrastructure that these people come and say, wow, I want to be here. I don't want to consider going anywhere else. I like being here. This infrastructure, this is marvelous. These people, they're marvelous. I want to stay here. This is very important.
It's a long way to go before you look at the moment where you roar with that goal.
Step by step, many countries, they didn't have that, and they started doing that 10, 15 years ago, and very quickly they reached the level. Many Asian countries, they did it, speaking about South Korea, Japan, all that thing.
And we could see that in the...
Exactly. You see that in World Cups, you see that in competitions, in the level of their players developing, the league becoming stronger, the league having more teams, more quality, more players, more teams. Everything's connected.
Now 2 more games to go. Where do you see the team?
Well, we see the 2 last games, like with the fighting spirit, that we can achieve a couple of more points to qualify for playoffs, and then get ready to playoffs to be again one nice surprise in the playoffs, to reach the highest possible level. So this is our objective. Let's hope for that.
So how much have you adapted to the food, the culture, the habits?
Without any problem, I think. I like everything what we have here, especially the food, especially the way we... Very often when we have this free time, we go around, we try these local specialities. So it's nice. I like it. I really like it.
From all the way from the East Bloc to...
Yeah. This is kind of life experience. A life-changing experience that stays for all your life in your heart. So I like being here. I like being part of this community. I like being in Kochi. I like every moment being part of this club. The moment when we play this home game, and the moment we go out of that tunnel into that pitch, and I hear the chants, I hear the fans, this is something priceless. It's like goosebumps, giving something in your heart. This is something that you don't want to change. I want to be here.
Just one question. How did you become a coach?
I was close to the end of my playing career. I was playing in Belgium. And one day, I was working with one coach for about 3 years. I was already for a long time into that club. And one day during one training session, my coach asked me, have I ever thought about writing me into the coaching education system program in Belgian Federation? I was surprised, saying no, and asking him why. And he was telling me that the way how he sees the way how the other players are looking at me in the dressing room. I was back then kind of captain, leader, and I was thinking, yeah, maybe right. And then after that season, I went playing in China. Coming back after the next season, he was asking me to come back to the club, play for the club. I arrived back, starting pre-season. He was asking me, have I done that, like writing me into educational coaching system? I said no. So then he said, okay, I'll do that. You'll be in my group because I want you to go there. And actually it was August. I decided to stop during the pre-season. Even I had a contract. I decided to stop playing because I felt it was the time to stop. And in September, I started coaching education program. And then very quickly it started being serious. The way I look at it now, it changed my perspective for a big deal, because playing period, coaching periods, two different worlds. So this playing period now gives me only facility, like easing my time, like, okay, I recognize why one player is feeling like that, or I recognize what he's doing, because I was doing that the same a long time ago. Now as a coach, it's a different world. You have so many other things, but I'm really glad that I went through it. It was pleasure. For about 4 years in that education, it was pleasure, really pleasure. And now I look at football with a different view. So
it wasn't very well schemed, but it wasn't an accident either.
No, it was maybe planned to be, but the coach was kind of, because as a player, closer you are to the end, you think about your future. You think about what will I do, because unbearable truth moment of one football player throughout your whole career. You know, every season you start a new season, you start the pre-season preparation, trainings, and you go with it. One day, it just stops. And then, as a, let's say a student, you finish your university, you start one career, whatever it is, and you go through, like, your life is going on, you know, till 65 something, pension, you go to retirement. As a football player, you start doing something when you are young enough, you grow up, you become serious guy, there is family, wife, kids, and then you're doing something for 15, 20 years if you're lucky, without injuries. One day, it stops. And one day you say to yourself, okay, what should I do now? And many players, they lost themselves. If you don't prepare this part of your life, whether is it related to staying in football or a management part or whatever it is, any kind of business, if you don't get ready for that, you get lost. So, and for me, football was always like, I want to be part of that. I want to be, especially as a coach, I like that feeling of a dressing room, before the game, after the game, during the game. I like that. So I'm really doing it with pleasure.
Such a pleasure, Coach
Thank you very much.
Vukomanovic, and I hope that he's not just part of Kerala Blasters, he'll be part of Kerala and be part of that Indian team which one day will play the World Cup.
Let's hope. Let's hope. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining
Thank you. My
us
pleasure.
in Kerala.
Thank you.